Welcome back to Dinar Trend Tracker channel. If you are looking for up-to-date information on the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and the bigger picture of the world's monetary system, you have found the right place. Included in this category is the much anticipated and debated revaluation of currencies. This platform has been working hard for a long time to be a trustworthy resource for people who are trying to make their way through the complex world of international finance. This is particularly true in niches where mainstream media coverage is either lacking or based on hearsay. Making things clear has been our primary objective. Whether you're an expert who's been tracking these currency fluctuations for years, a beginner curious about global finance, or someone who just loves economics, you'll find something of interest here. The Dinar Daily understands the critical importance of distinguishing fact from fiction, rumor from reality, and strategic insight from mere hope. Our approach is based on emphasizing verified information, meticulous research, and careful analysis. We strive to provide updates that are grounded in credible evidence rather than speculative projection. The financial world is constantly filled with stories, predictions, and conjectures, and many of these narratives circulate widely online without substantial backing. We'll be talking about a reported development today that might change the conversation around currency re-evaluations in a big way. Currencies that have been characterized as long suppressed may see their futures altered as a result of this development, which questions long-held beliefs. A thorough and fair evaluation of this data is necessary, which, for the last 10 years, we have worked hard to bring to your attention. Rumors and speculation about the possible revaluation of currencies, like the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and others have swung from cautious optimism to outright cynicism. International financial strategy, high-level policy decisions, and complicated geopolitical variables are the key determinants of any possible movement, according to many analysts. The public has little to no insight into these matters. In the past, these talks of revaluation were either ignored by mainstream finance or confined to smaller groups of enthusiastic followers, who would discuss and analyze hypothetical timelines in great detail. It was challenging to determine the actual state of any possible alterations in this setting. Nevertheless, there have been reports of a major change in the tone of this discussion. New evidence, purportedly from reputable banking sources, along with internal records purportedly from banks that deal with massive cash transactions, raises the possibility that what was previously only speculation may soon become a reality. Many people are debating the importance of this claimed change. This might be a watershed moment for investors and the economies of Vietnam and Iraq. Many people who keep up with these particular financial issues have been captivated by this emerging story. Now that we've entered a new analytical phase, we can see that today's updates are supported by concrete indications, as opposed to earlier information cycles that were frequently defined by speculation and rumor on social media. Some of the reported metrics include frameworks for cross-border transactions, evaluations of the preparedness of the banking system, and data regarding the preparations for the internal exchange rate. In light of these changes, it is more important than ever for market watchers to be well informed, conduct thorough evaluations, and formulate comprehensive strategies. It is crucial for anyone involved in the currency space to grasp these subtleties. Given the possible impact on liquidity, investor behavior, and long-term asset allocation strategies that developments in this sector could have on global financial markets. Based on what we know so far, Chase Bank, a leading global financial institution, is reportedly listing fixed exchange rates for the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong within its private banking system. This is the most shocking development to come out of the financial sector in recent months. Elite clientele, hedge funds, and government financial bodies are the usual users of the complex platforms run by Chase Bank, which is famous for its extensive worldwide operations and high-level institutional banking service. Large complicated international transactions are handled by these systems, which are not available to the general public. This new information is relevant since it emerges from this specific institutional environment. Rumor has it that the quoted rates are considered fixed, according to sources with knowledge of these internal systems. This is a crucial term. What this implies is that they supposedly aren't affected by the daily swings that are common in the open market. By definition, a fixed rate in financial parlance indicates a high level of operational preparedness for the deployment or adjustment of currency, as well as stability and strategic aim. The consequences being debated are tremendous if these claims are genuine. Many analysts believe this could signify a possible preparatory stage for a formal revaluation procedure. Based on the data, it appears that there is an unprecedented degree of internal readiness. This report circulated particular data are, by any standard, astounding. The stated fixed rate for one Iraqi dinar is $40. According to the source, the Vietnamese dong is valued at $2.51. If these assessments were ever to become law, they would be among the most significant shifts in the history of contemporary currencies. A shift of this magnitude might have far-reaching effects, reiterating that these rates are not publicly advertised. These figures are at the core of why this report is being treated with such significance by the community that follows these currencies. They impact international trade, investment portfolios, and the local economies in both Iraq and Vietnam. Apparently, they can only be accessed through private institutional networks, restricting access to them to a small group of elite bank customers and insiders. Reports of these exact fixed rates within a financial behemoth like Chase Bank raise more red flags than mere speculation for individuals who keep tabs on currency reevaluations. Many are taking this to mean that things are getting ready for a formal activation, which could mean that internal mechanisms are being set up for a major financial event. The fact that these historically undervalued currencies now have fixed exchange rates begs the question of why, and it opens the door to serious financial analysis. In the event that these numbers are indicative of institutional planning, they would indicate a calculated rebalancing of currencies that have been undervalued in comparison to their real economic and asset-backed value. Beyond individual investors, the broader consequences would reach far and wide. Possible impact on international trade balances, international financial flows, and intricate geopolitical dynamics. As a result, long-established principles would be reoriented, marking a sea change in the world's financial system. A number of reasons, including as political unpredictability, macroeconomic limitations, and strict regulatory frameworks, have resulted in few valuation modifications for the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. The implementation of a fixed-rate structure at these stated levels could potentially spur groundbreaking economic initiatives. A new influx of foreign investment, more liquidity in those countries, and a radical shift in how the world views these developing markets are all possible outcomes. Furthermore, it signifies a shift from an unstable, suppressed value to a stable, asset-backed valuation, the latter of which would have far-reaching economic effects. If a large bank like Chase were to start this adjustment, it may have far-reaching consequences for the global banking industry. Some other large banks may feel pressured to do the same, revising their internal exchange rates and making plans to convert and settle these currencies at significantly higher values. The rumored existence of institutional-level fixed-rate marks what may be a watershed moment in world finance. With the worldwide revaluation community absorbing these findings, investors, analysts, and lawmakers would do well to keep a careful eye on these developments. A feeling of eager expectancy permeates the air. The idea that some of the most powerful banks in the world are preparing for a historic realignment of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong is more than just a piece of financial data. It might be a watershed moment in our comprehension of the worth of currencies, the steadiness of markets, and the preparedness of the global financial system. For a long time, people have been talking about this in pieces, with rumors, wishful thinking, and infrequent, hard-to-verify leaks driving the discussion. Reports originating from reliable banking insiders have surfaced recently, suggesting that the focus is moving from theoretical conjecture to practical considerations. It can sound unbelievable, even shocking, to think that one Iraqi dinar might be worth $40. The figure is so astronomically large in comparison to its present exchange rates, that it questions the accepted wisdom about the value of currencies and how markets work. One may argue that this figure is more in line with a plausible and historically founded narrative when seen through the prism of Iraq's economic history, its enormous resource wealth, and its recent financial reforms. This supporting narrative is what advocates use to justify the possible value shift that occurred before the conflicts and sanctions of the last several decades. The value of the Iraqi dinar represented a highly prosperous economy when compared to others in the region. The dinar's recorded peak trading values ranged from $3.20 to $4.13. Standing on the shoulders of massive state-controlled financial infrastructure, considerable industrial capability, and some of the world's biggest oil reserves, this Middle Eastern economy achieved an astounding level. The debt currency's value plummeted due to the invasion that followed, years of sanctions, social unrest and political turmoil. To control liquidity and manage debt, deliberate depreciation was used. Now let's go to the current day. Furthermore, there has allegedly been a significant shift in Iraq's financial landscape. Revitalization of banking systems, modernization of regulatory frameworks, strengthening of anti-corruption efforts, and expansion of foreign reserves have all taken place recently. For a long time, the dinar's genuine potential as a financial containment mechanism has been concealed by its artificially low valuation, as pointed out by regional economists on multiple occasions. If the long-awaited revaluation is indeed being prepared internally within institutional banking systems like Chase, as the reports claim, then a figure like $40 per dinar could be seen as a huge corrective adjustment that accounts for decades of suppressed value, currency manipulation, inflationary factors, and the accumulation of huge national reserves. It would show a shift in focus from market speculation to asset-based strategy. So, within these circles, such an apparently astronomical figure is being considered as a plausible possibility, and the historical backdrop gives the framework for comprehending this. Like the Vietnamese dong, which is depicted here as a planned restoration of value rather than a random quantity, it has long been undervalued on global markets, selling for pennies on the dollar. This is thought to be a holdover from a more centralized economic structure in the past, and an indication of cautious monetary policy. But the facts of Vietnam's economy show something very different. Bringing attention to a currency whose actual value and potential are said to exceed what its exchange rate implies. Central to the revaluation is this mismatch between the traded value and the economic reality. Talk about the dong. From the last 20 years, the industrialization process in Vietnam has been both fast and steady. Its integration with global supply chains has grown, and it has drawn huge amounts of foreign direct investment, establishing it as a dynamic and rapidly expanding economy in Asia. Thanks to a highly trained workforce, diversified exports, and strong manufacturing output, the country often posts GDP growth rates that outpace regional averages. Foreign investors love this country because of its political stability and its government's dedication to economic reform, which has increased their faith in the country's long-term financial prospects. The historically low valuation of the dong was, according to analysts, a governmental measure. Keeping export competitiveness, stabilizing internal markets, and managing domestic liquidity were the goals of this policy. Because of these artificially contrived exchange rates, the dong has remained undervalued in comparison to the actual economic production and huge trade surpluses of the country. An abrupt change to $2.51 per dong, although seemingly extreme, could be seen as a deliberate adjustment in this setting. It would mean bringing the value of the currency in line with the real in Vietnam. Confirmation of the alleged fixed rates from Chase Bank would put the world economy in a proven situation. Not only would it be a watershed moment in how, but it might also indicate a possible recalibration of the dong. Emerging market currencies are perceived and interacted with by global financial systems. Huge, thorough preparation, evidence-based reasoning, and a desire to bring Vietnam's economy into international monetary frameworks with greater openness and accuracy would be the hallmarks of such a massive revaluation. Instead of seeing it as a random or speculative oddity, it would be seen as a strategic realignment. The development of these two currencies allegedly did not result from an official announcement or a coordinated public disclosure, highlighting Vietnam's position as a modern economic superpower. Those who are considered to be part of the inner circle are supposedly its original creators, claiming to have seen the fixed rates for the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong displayed immediately on their internal banking interfaces. These individuals supposedly have access to systems at the institutional level of Chase Bank. What distinguishes it from earlier is that the information came from within such a significant institution. Several accounts corroborate the rumors. While testing environments and placeholder templates are commonplace in banking software, these figures did not belong there. Instead, it seemed like they were active but pending. In the world of finance, this is a popular way to describe data that has already been vetted and is waiting for an official activation trigger to make it live. The tremendous sensitivity of market movements and the potential for catastrophic disruption inside global foreign exchange networks have traditionally kept such information locked under strong non-disclosure agreements. The data, however, seems to have slipped away in this case. The accusation has allegedly been further bolstered by many independent confirmations from what are characterized as separate institutional sources, in addition to that close group. All signs point to the International Monetary Fund (IMF), the Bank for International Settlements (BIS), and the United States being active participants in a covert effort to maintain and coordinate a framework of pre-established global currency rates, government funds. The precise institutional sourcing and high level of accuracy in this article set it apart from earlier waves of speculation. Many people in the revaluation community believe that the data is derived from verified internal systems and not from anonymous social media conversations. This disclosure suggests that there may be immediate preparations, rather than merely another rumor. The long-debated global financial reset may finally be moving from the realm of theory into reality, according to some. Approach to execution. This article is not being taken as merely another round of speculation for those holding Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong. We may be approaching a phase that requires controlled readiness rather than exhilaration. If these internal rates are real and activation is really on the horizon, such systemic alterations can have unforeseen timeframes. What used to take months or even years could now be done in a matter of days or even hours, all dependent on when the institutional switches are turned on. Strategic planning is no longer a luxury but a necessity in light of this prospect. Ensuring the authenticity and secure storage of all currency assets is the primary focus of verification efforts. With legitimately issued certificates or receipts, equally important is documentation. In order to avoid confusion and hassle during future transactions, it is essential to keep detailed records of all purchases and their provenance. A quick windfall of this size could have complicated tax and estate implications, so investors should consult with financial and legal experts before any exchange happens. They should also ask for written policies regarding redemption, conversion limits, or identification requirements, and research institutions to find out which ones can handle exotic currencies. Above all else, participants should avoid rumor-driven forums and decisions based on panic by staying informed through trusted and verifiable sources. Being well prepared should be driven by anticipation, not dread. The most specific and evidence-based figures ever associated with this trend are the $40 Iraqi dinar and the $2.51 Vietnamese dong, according to reports. Striking a balance between pessimism and optimism is critical. No public announcement or formal confirmation has been made by Chase Bank, the IMF or any other regulatory body at this time. Massive financial systems function with the utmost secrecy. Reasons such as geopolitical concerns, security reviews, or market stabilization actions, which are not always apparent to the public, frequently lead to the delay or adjustment of activation events. Thus, even though there is a lot of hope in the community, everyone still needs to be disciplined. Anyone keeping tabs on financial institutions should be aware that the mere presence of internal numbers, no matter how legal, does not ensure prompt execution. It means to be ready, not finished. Changing currencies on a global scale like this requires a great deal of planning and cooperation between different levels of government, regulatory bodies, and interbank networks. The event's historical significance will be determined by the execution, timing, and market manifestation of these ideals. Staying calm, collected, and thinking critically are going to be incredibly important. If the internal rates that have been leaked are true, we might be witnessing a financial revolution like no other in recent memory. Wealth, trade, and sovereignty on other continents could all be redefined by this change. This would be more than just a monetary adjustment. Geo-fundamental adjustment in the world's economic system would be signified by this. Might provide a boost to countries who have been living below their asset-backed potential for quite some time. What will determine how people and organizations deal with this shift, though, is not going to be enthusiasm. Those who have taken the necessary steps to verify their assets, keep track of their holdings, and consult with competent financial and legal advisors will be able to adapt with ease and speed. The opposite is true. The fast-paced nature of events can overwhelm individuals who depend on hearsay or behave impulsively. Our goal here at the Dinar Daily has never wavered: to provide you with up-to-the-minute information based on facts and not guesswork or personal feelings. So that our community can have accurate information in real time, we will notify you right once if any financial institution or regulatory agency publicly confirms these reported rates. Maintain your level of knowledge until then. Keep your wits about you and most importantly, be ready.